Mate, I want to dig, like, obviously whatever you're comfortable with, but I'd love to know what's happening with Heliport, because I think this is primarily, this podcast goes out to the sunny coast musos, you know what I mean? And so I'm sure that a lot of musos are wondering sort of what's happening. And
well, look, it's not as dire as it sounded by my Facebook post supposedly, but well, yeah. So originally, Heliport was a passion project for Alan, and it was a studio for him to do his own recording in, and then basically, still he'll openly attest that he hasn't recorded a note in that studio in 10 years or ever. Mainly because it got upgraded to an SSL studio, and there like Angus, who helped him set it up and stuff. Though I turned up the day that the SSL duality, it was a 24 channel back then, but I turned up the day that was being plugged in. And, essentially, that makes a studio so complex that you need an engineer to run it, right? And so, Alan being able to go in there and record himself, or the project studio was out the window by that stage. But yeah, he'd put a fair bit of money in it, and I was always sensitive to that. I did understand that when I turned up, I said, look, I won't cost you money, I'll make you money. That was what I said to him. And because I saw the opportunity there, I was up from Melbourne, and basically came to dry out from the 90s. But yeah, I got up here and went, man, this is amazing. This could be so good. And said to him, look, let's turn this into something better. That was when Heliport was born. They were going to call it Sunshine Coast Recording Studios before that or something, which I thought was a pretty terrible name. And it's funny, actually, one of the studio names we mentioned was Warm Tone Studios.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I did all these mock-ups. There was Blue Tone and True Tone and Warm Tone and, all that kind of stuff. But then, actually, you should put this on the podcast. Al will be impressed with this. It's an amazing story how we came up with Heliport.
Yeah.
Because this is the kind of guy that Alan, when he was in his prime with this studio and really happy about it, he was really enthusiastic. He was over in Romania putting a bid on Dracula's Castle. Right, and I was Skyping him, and he was literally in the belfry of Dracula's Castle. Actually, you might get arrested for this. No, Dracula's Castle. And as we're talking about calling it Heliport, I heard this crack. I said, "What's that?" And still to this day, he's got a bit of the belfry.
Really?
But anyway, he went over. I'll probably get in trouble for that. But he went over to Romania, and basically,
allegedly, we'll just say allegedly.
Allegedly, that's right. Yeah, no, he did. He went allegedly. Over in Romania because he heard that the Romanian government wanted to sell Dracula's Castle for about, I think it was 10 million or something. Yeah. Anyway, he went over and lowballed them and basically said, I'll offer you 4. But either way, he was in the running and they considered it. Anyway, they ended up selling it, so some tourism or whatever. But yeah, so that's how Heliport was born anyway. We're literally talking, Skyping on, and that's when we've got a helicopter pad, and I'm Googling these, checking the domain names. And we couldn't get helipad, so we typed in Heliport, and that's how it happened.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, and we had a lot of really good years. But the thing is, it's a full-time job. It's really hard keeping a studio going. Any small business owner, in fact, any musician knows that, everyone goes, oh, it's amazing you can, do music full-time. But to do music full-time, you are literally trying to pedal under the water. You're like a duck, It looks as though it's cruising on top, but you're basically flogging your guts out. And look, it just got really hard for me because I still to this day, I've got a bloody blood pressure problem from, trying to keep a studio afloat. And that was after 2010 or 2008, a global financial crisis. Obviously, it was after MP3s and iPhones and everything else sort of ruined the music industry. I mean, as I said, I remember back in the 90s, because I only briefly started engineering, learnt with Ollie and then sort of went different ways and then came back to music. But, I had mates that were, playing in pretty shitty techno bands and we're getting 25 grand up front for a demo. Jeez. And nowadays, like, basically you walk into a label and unless you've got the album fully recorded, all the artwork's done, and it's like bank loan. They won't give you a loan unless you don't need the loan.
There's no money, man.
Yeah, and I have a lot of, and it's really hard too, because I have a lot of clients that I actually really like a lot of their music, and I'm really passionate about my clients, They're the ones that, keep your whole career afloat. And there's so many times you hear them with big dreams going, we're going to put it out, man. I hope this gets traction radio play. And you're sitting there like you don't have the heart to tell them. Like if you're looking at the stats though, there's so much good music out there. It's just not even getting a look at because there's just quantity everywhere.
Yeah, totally.
And, you know, kids on SoundCloud doing it for free. And, you know, now the likes of Fiverr and Airtasker and stuff like that is basically happening to the music industry. You know, oh yeah, I'll do you a mix for $5, mate. And it's like...
Yeah.
How can anyone sustain that, you know?
Yeah.
And so, trying to do that in a studio. There was a couple of other studios that I won't mention them that popped up that were able to lowball us. And so obviously what we needed to do was, you know, have a reputation for good quality. And also the thing about Heliport is you could live track a band, which was really rare. And Al did a really great job with that. And still to this day, you know, he created 4 different spaces that all have line of sight, but are mutually exclusive to each other. So you can track drums next to guitar and all the rest of it. But so that was our point of difference.
Just by the way, that's all you said in that post. So
yeah,
all you said was
he made me edit it.
no, but all you said. My understanding of it was that you know,
closing down this.
It's just we may not have the capacity to live track anymore. You know what I mean? You didn't say the studio's ending or anything like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a conversation and. I know he was, look, after COVID, like Al's going stir crazy. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but, you know, like his business was seminars. Yeah. And he loved doing, you know, 35,000 people with Tony Robbins and Arnold Schwarzenegger and walking out on stage and doing his bit, you know. They'd just come off, I think it was in 2015 or something, they'd done the largest recorded seminar in Russia ever recorded because obviously Al's mates with Putin and, you know, but, you know, that kind of stuff. And then basically since COVID's happened, he's literally not been overseas. And he's, you know, anyway, so then he's sitting there going, well, we've got to cut the fat. And look, for someone who's that successful in business, I understand that. But, you know, I thought the studio was pretty low impact, but I do understand that he wants to go in a different direction. Multimedia does make sense because everyone's doing podcasts and everyone's doing this kind of stuff. So what he's done is he's changing the rec hut upstairs to basically a semi-TV set. And he's gone and done a similar thing to you. He's got a couple of Blackmagic cameras and he's setting up these because they're now doing, he's been seeing online, you know, because his whole business has changed too. Seminars have now gone online as well, you know. And if you look at Tony Robbins, he's doing, you know, Instagram seminars out of his backyard kind of stuff. It's changed the world.
It has,
you know,
man.
And
it has.
And I do see what he's saying. Like, you know, COVID was almost the death knell to the studio as far as I went from doing 25 to 30 bands a year. And that's good EPs and stuff. I'm not even including the extra one day here and there. I'm, you know, good projects I did 5 last year. And that's a scary thing to, you know, and if it wasn't for JobKeeper, you know, it would have been worse anyway. But But, and so it's happening to all studios across Australia. Which is a bit of a pity because, it could be the death knell to the big studios. I think it's definitely going to be a death knell to the mid-levels. That's going to be the problem, the ones that don't have labels behind them.
It's a shame, eh?
Yeah, it is.